Yes.
And you see the timestamp up the top, correct?
Yes.
Between those two markers on the video, you're going to see somebody walking by. I'd ask you to pay attention for the next, 6 seconds or so. Right. Stop. Do you recognize that person?
Yes, I believe it's my husband.
Okay. If you can run that. Stop. Okay. Would you agree with me that your husband left the waterfall at about 12:13 and 46 seconds?
Well, yes. I mean, that's what it says on the screen.
Okay. So it was closer to 2:14 than to 2:10. Would you agree with that?
12:14, you mean? Two?
You know what? You're right. 12:14 than 12:10.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing.
Thank you. So if he's leaving at around 12:14, and by your testimony, it would have taken him he was walking home. You knew that, correct?
Yes.
He didn't have a car that night.
He did not.
And if it took him 6 or 7 minutes to get home, and by the way, let me strike that question. You had said it takes 6 or 7 minutes. Did you factor in the fact that of the weather that night for your estimate about a 6 or 7 minute walk?
Objection.
Can you answer that question? Is that what you said?
Yes, I didn't factor in the. I don't know.
All right. So your testimony would be you don't know if it would have taken him a little bit longer, or anybody.
Anybody, everyone walks at a different pace.
Right, but whatever pace they walk at, given what you saw of the weather that night, is it your testimony that maybe it would have taken a little bit longer than the estimate because
it
of the
could
weather?
have.
Okay, but in any case, let's leave it at 6 or 7 minutes. That puts your husband, coming home at around 12:20 or 12:21, correct?
Correct.
All right, and that 12:10 estimate that you had. You made that estimate before having the benefit of the video, correct?
Correct.
Right. Now, where were you within the house when your husband came home?
In my room.
Bedroom?
Upstairs in my bedroom.
All right. And you share a bedroom with your husband?
Yes.
And when was the first time that you saw him within the house?
He came up to the bedroom.
Okay, so you were in the bedroom and you see him appear in the bedroom?
Correct.
Did you hear the door open way down on the first floor?
Yes.
Okay. And it would have taken him maybe about a minute to get upstairs? It wasn't very long?
It wouldn't be very long, no.
Okay. And when he got upstairs, you noticed that he was in wet clothing, correct?
Yes.
He appeared to be cold.
Yes.
And he got undressed, correct?
Yes.
Did he brush his teeth before bed?
I think he got right into bed.
Okay, so you didn't see him brush his teeth or wash up?
No.
And were you in the bed when he came into the bed to go to sleep?
I was sitting up in bed, yes.
Were you reading or watching TV?
I was just sitting up in bed praying for my headache to go away.
Oh, okay. The migraine was still really bothering you. And you were suffering at that point.
Suffering? I had a headache.
Well, yeah, but a migraine headache, I would imagine.
It was a headache, but I took medicine and I was waiting for it to get better.
To kick in?
Yes.
Okay. And that's sort of what you were concentrating on. It's really kind of hard to read or watch TV or concentrate on anything when you have a migraine, right?
Okay, yes.
Now, you would agree with me that your husband Chris was asleep when Colin came home, correct?
Correct.
And as a mother, you couldn't have gone to sleep until you knew your kids were home, correct?
Correct.
And Colin was the remaining child who was out there, which when he came home, that would given you license to go to sleep.
Yes.
Now, at the time that Colin came home with Chris sleeping, it's fair to say this was just an ordinary weekend night, correct?
How do you?
Well, in other words, you didn't know that anything tragic had occurred or was alleged to have occurred, correct?
Correct.
So it wasn't like you were paying attention to the clock at that point and recording your memories as best you could because you knew you'd be testifying later, correct?
Correct.
Which also explains the 12:10 estimate, right? I mean, you're being asked about, times that things occurred, and it was just sort of an ordinary day, right? So it's difficult to pinpoint times, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, directing your attention to the next morning, you missed a phone call from your best friend, Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And you believe that phone call, I think according to your memory, yesterday came in at 5:55 p.m., correct? I'm sorry, 5:55 a.m., correct?
Correct.
That was the time that you gave Mr. Lally when he asked you the question on direct examination, correct?
Correct.
And you were able to recall that time nearly 2 years later, correct?
Yes.
But regarding the 67 phone calls between you and Courtney Proctor that happened after that, you're not able to recall any of those, correct?
I just don't remember them.
All right, in any case, January 29th was your nephew Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday, correct?
Yes.
That's why you went to 34 Fairview at 8:30 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
And when you pulled into the driveway, there was nothing unusual to you, correct?
Correct.
This was just your brother-in-law Brian and your sister-in-law Nicole's house with snow around, correct?
Yes.
There were no police on scene.
No.
There was no tent protecting the front lawn, correct?
Correct.
No crime scene tape stapled anywhere or taped anywhere, correct?
Correct.
Nobody appeared to be standing guard over the front yard, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see any shard of glass, right?
No, I did not.
You didn't see 45 pieces of tail light strewn about the lawn, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you didn't see any pieces of tail light, correct?
I don't recall seeing anything.
And you didn't suspect that 34 Fairview was a crime scene, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
There was nothing that prevented you from walking all over that front lawn, correct?
Correct.
It was still snowing out?
Yes.
Brian Albert, when you approached the house, he opened the door, correct?
I approached the car, not the house.
Oh, okay. You approached, whose car was it?
My nephew Brian's.
Brian's?
In the driveway. Yes.
All right. And then Brian Albert opened the door of the house.
The side door of the home, yes.
All right, so can I have Exhibit 8, please, with the court's permission?
Yes.
Could we zoom in just a little bit? That's good. I am so bad at this stuff. Jeez. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. All right. That I'm highlighting now is the front door to the house, correct?
Yes.
And if we move along Exhibit 8 to the right, is that the side door?
Yes.
And that's the door that Brian Albert appeared from?
Yes.
And you were able to see him from the outside of the house, correct?
Yes.
And you were over to this area?
Yes.
Do you recall, is it one of those two cars that's in Exhibit 8 that you approached with the Dunkin' Donuts?
I can't make out what the cars are.
Okay. But it was either one of those two cars or a car that was parked in one of those two places.
Yes.
All right. And then did you go in that side door to go into the house?
Yes.
Fair to say that family has lived there for quite a while, correct?
Yes.
You knew that prior to Brian Albert and I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That's really bad form to block the jury. I am so sorry. It's good I didn't trip. The door that is the front door, having been familiar with that house for a long time, you've gone in that front door before, correct?
Yes.
And you know that when you go in the front door of that house, you come into a little foyer area, correct?
Correct.
And then almost within arm's distance to the left is the door to the basement, correct?
Walking in the front door, arm's distance to the left.
Yes. In other words, you walk into the house.
Yep.
And then the door to the basement, going down to the basement, is right there on the left, correct?
That's incorrect. To the left is a library.
All right. Where is the door to the basement?
You walk in the front door, you step to the right, walk a few steps towards the kitchen, and the basement door is on the left before you enter the kitchen.
All right. But the kitchen's off to the left, correct?
No, when you walk in the front door, the library is on the left. There's another room on the left.
Okay.
So you walk in, you immediately see a staircase in front of you,
Yeah.
and to the left is the library.
Right.
If you go to the right,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
if you go to the right, you can go into the part of the kitchen where the kitchen table is, or you can not go to the right, you can walk straight, and as you're walking, there's a door on the left, and that's where the basement door is.
Okay, so I think we're getting to what I was getting at. If you walk straight ahead, there's a door to the left that goes down to the basement, correct?
Correct. Yes.
We can have the lights on. And when you were walking toward that side door, you didn't see any emergency or police vehicles outside, correct?
No, I did not.
You didn't see any first responders other than Brian Albert, correct?
Correct.
There were no lights flashing outside the house, correct?
Correct.
And inside, you saw Nicole Albert,
Yes.
Brian Albert,
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe,
Yes.
Matt McCabe,
Yes.
and Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
How long did you spend at the house that morning?
I don't remember exactly, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. I don't remember exactly.
And the seven of you were discussing what had happened, correct?
Yes.
At some point, it was decided that Jennifer McCabe should contact Michael Lank of the Canton Police, correct?
Objection.
If this witness knows independently.
Can you repeat that once more, please?
At some point, it was decided among the seven of you that Jennifer McCabe should contact Michael Lank of the Canton Police Department.
I don't remember who exactly Jennifer decided. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the discussion.
You knew Michael Lank, correct?
Yes.
And at 8:53 a.m., you sent to Jennifer McCabe Michael Lank's personal cell phone number, correct?
Correct.
And did you then see Jennifer McCabe delete that text message from you?
Objection.
I'll sustain.
You were contacted by the Massachusetts State Police this year about your phone, correct?
Correct.
They left you a voicemail on March 21st of 2024?
The state police
Yes?
about my telephone?
Well, they left you a voicemail on March 21st of 2024. You've had contact with the state police this year.
Yes.
And they left you a second voicemail on March 25 and then called you again on March 28.
Yes.
You told them that you were sick and you would speak to them on April 1st, correct?
Correct.
And then the state police called you on April 1st, but you did not pick up. Do you recall that?
I do not.
They called you again that same day and you didn't respond, correct?
I don't recall.
But you did learn that they had called your husband on April 1st looking for you, correct?
I don't recall.
All right. After speaking with your husband, you texted the Massachusetts State Police on April 1st, correct?
I think around that. I don't know the exact date.
All right. And you finally met with the Massachusetts State Police on April 3rd of 2024, correct?
I would assume, I don't know the exact date, but yes.
And during that meeting, the state police looked through your phone for contact that you would have had with Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
Did they seize your phone?
No, they did not.
Did they tell you that they had a search warrant for your phone?
No, they did not.
Did they take it back saying that they had to give it to some experts to do an extraction?
Objection.
Sustained.
They just looked through it after you handed it to them, correct?
Correct.
Then they gave it back.
Yes.
Now, with regard to your contact with Karen on January 28th, it was clear to you that Karen did not appear to be under the influence, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see her stumbling, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see her swaying.
Correct.
She was not unbalanced.
No.
She was not slurring her words.
No.
She was not talking gibberish.
No.
She was engaging in normal conversation.
Yes.
And she held the conversation perfectly fine.
Yes.
She appeared to be under control, correct?
Yes.
She was affectionate with John that night.
Objection.
I didn't come in contact with them like that.
Well, the two of them certainly were not arguing.
No, not that I saw.
You didn't see any tension between them, correct?
No.
And, I mean, given your family's connection to law enforcement, you would not knowingly let someone drive a car if they were under the influence, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Everyone appeared to be having a good time that night, correct?
Yes.
And that included John and Karen, from what you could see, correct?
For the 10, 15 minutes I was there, yes.
Okay. Now, after you left the waterfall, it's fair to say that you didn't know precisely where your son Colin was that night, correct?
I knew where he was.
Where was he?
He was at his friend Michael Leonetti's. He left Michael Leonetti's to stop to say happy birthday to my nephew Brian at 34 Fairview Road.
Okay. And you learned that from him, correct?
Yes.
So you had learned that Colin was at 34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022, correct?
January 28th. The Friday.
So is it your testimony that you know that Colin left on Friday night as opposed to after midnight on January 29th?
I don't understand what you're asking.
What just occurred is I asked you whether you knew that your son Colin was at your sister-in-law Nicole's and your brother-in-law Brian Albert's house on January 29th, and you just corrected.
I'm sorry, it was after midnight.
Okay.
So I got confused. I apologize.
Not a problem. So the answer to my question is you learned that he was there on January 29th, correct?
Yes, after midnight.
And you now know that that is the same house outside which John O'Keefe was found dead that morning, correct?
Yes, I do.
And one last question. You were interviewed by Trooper Proctor, and it's fair to say you never told him that Colin was there that night, correct?
I don't recall my interview.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Riley.
Just briefly on.